Hi, welcome back to the Traffic Syndicate interview series. I'm Mike Filsame, and on behalf of Groove, the Traffic Syndicate, and Jesse Dobeck, today we bring you another awesome guest. You're about to meet Jacob Beau. Jacob runs a media buying agency called Concept. And Jacob's story is incredible. He's going to talk to you about how he started out as a struggling musician, entered the scene by transitioning, creating creatives for musicians.
The more I grabbed attention with these kind of styles and these unique approaches to filming and editing that I would do, I would just become more and more popular.
From there, he transitions over to contracting with Google, Salesforce, and eventually Facebook. Facebook loves what he's doing. They help him build a team. He builds that team and then starts his own agency working with Facebook and then other people in our space. Jacob has worked with Fortune 500 companies like Frito-Lay, down to digital marketers in our space like Grant Cardone, Onyx and Gal, and myself. We're gonna get to know Jacob and his story in the second half of this exciting interview. He's gonna break down his strategies that revolutionized his clients like Grant Cardone on a 7x increase or reduction in cost of sales and so much more. So let's jump right on in. All right, Jacob, we're gonna jump right in. Do me a favor, tell me, you're pretty successful today, but let's start from the beginning. What was life like in the beginning, after you graduated high school?
Yeah, so great question. Before I owned my agency, before I got even into digital marketing, after I graduated high school, I actually went pretty heavy into music production. I thought that's what I wanted to be, was a music producer, and get into that whole scene. I was, somewhat well connected in that world. And I went pretty hard on the electronic music scene in San Francisco. But the thing was, I was doing well as popularity, but I was broke doing it. I don't know if you know much about the music scene, but you don't make a lot of money by even headlining shows. You have to be selling out concerts to actually be making money. And you made no money on getting radio play and selling your tracks. So while I was getting popular in the music scene, yeah, I was definitely the struggling artist after high school.
Oh, awesome. So that's a far cry from digital marketing. How did you transition from the music world into any type of digital marketing?
Yeah, so my progression from music into digital marketing, it really went along the path of me becoming popular and known as a film producer in the music scene. So I think just because I had an artistic background, I was always kind of splitting the difference between music production and as a hobby, I was a film producer. And what I noticed over time was that I was actually starting to get booked more, or at least paid more, for doing my film productions in the music scene. And so I would get hired on to film the recaps for these big music festivals, to film at nightclubs, to film promo material. And the promoters, the club owners, the producers of these big events, they were bringing me on for that because I had a skill set for it. And what I realized later on was that they were making money off of what I was producing, right? They were using my material to market with it, and they were not making money off of my music. And so I became well sought after in the music scene for producing really cool recap videos, really cool promotional material. And so that was kind of my transition from music into really marketing, because I was doing the film production, which was used for marketing material.
So you're a pretty creative guy. You like music, your way around audio, video, a camera, storytelling, and those different things. And then you take that, you start doing some more video for people than actually working on the music side of things. How do you end up working for Facebook?
So I got really well connected in the music scene, and I kind of leveraged that connection to get into the technology scene in San Francisco. So in the music scene, I rode that as far as I could go up, and I got connected with like some of the biggest artists in the world. I was on the radio all the time. So that gave me a lot of exposure. Right. And when you talk about traffic, once I had traffic coming into my personal brand, I made a lot of connections. And so then I was sought after to perform at the tech, kind of like these tech parties that was all the rage back in like 2013, 2014. So I became like the music producer and a DJ at a lot of the events, like Salesforce event, Google's holiday party, things like that. I was well known in that scene. So I kind of used my connections from the music scene to network into the technology scene, because like I said, I was broke as a music producer. I was a starving artist. And then what I really figured out was, hey, I'm in San Francisco. I'm somewhat popular in this scene. I could absolutely crack into the technology scene. And so what I did was I started DJing and producing, music and tracks, and for these holiday parties, for these networking events. It was like the tech bro thing back in like the 2010s, right? That was me. That was the artist at these events. And so I just started really using my ability to network and, connect with the right people. And the fact that I was a music producer and a DJ, and I was also doing film production and using my material for marketing for these pretty big events, it kind of was a gradual step to make these connections and start talking with the people, the higher ups of these, technology companies, and get connected in with them. And that's exactly what I did. I got connected at a holiday party with a creative director at Google. Just started, networking thing, talking with him what I do, showed him some of my promotional material in the music scene. And they were actually looking for a fresh take. They were looking for kind of a creative edge with what they were doing at Google. And so they brought me on kind of a lower level position and basically just gave me a shot. So that was, once I met these connections at Google, that was kind of my pivot point, where I went from starving artist into cracking into the Silicon Valley technology scene. And I just rode that from there.
And then from Google, you transition over to Facebook a couple of years later or shortly after?
Yeah, so I actually didn't get hired at Google. I got hired on for like a one-off production with Google. And I think I was like a second cameraman. Yeah, I was a contractor. I was a second cameraman, really low-level position. But I got networked in with this team that was doing all the technology. They were kind of on the circuit with the tech companies. And so one of my main connection that brought me in, he ended up getting a job at Eventbrite, which is an online ticketing platform. He was a creative director there, and he liked what I was doing. He brought me in. And so my first job in the tech scene was a low-level editor at Eventbrite. And they stuck me in this little edit room, and I edited the most boring material possible. I remember just grinding it out for like 6 months straight, but I was in, right? That was my connection in. And so basically, I got in at Eventbrite, became kind of rode that all the way to the top as much as I could go, kind of got to the point where I was creative director, started producing ad content. And this is $1 billion company at this point. So I started producing marketing material and ads for Eventbrite, which got me well known in the technology scene. And from there, I got recruited over to Salesforce, actually. So once I got a job at Salesforce, like this is 2014, that was like the hot place to be. Everybody wanted to be at Salesforce 2014. They were doing all the massive events. I got put on a kind of a creative director position. I started producing all the content for their big Dreamforce content, got to network with like Mark Benioff and Steph Curry and all these, really influential people. Kind of made a name for myself at Salesforce. From there, got recruited over to Facebook once they saw what I was doing at Salesforce. So that was kind of my journey from kind of a connection at Google, starving artist, connection at Google, Eventbrite editor, Salesforce producer, and then up to Facebook.
All right. So now, you're with Facebook, but what was it that was unique to what you were doing? You must have cracked some code or had some type of secret sauce that was different in 2014. Let's face it, video. I remember Facebook in 2014. It was very heavy on text-based image ads, Canva-style ads. And were you using video? Is that what you were pioneering?
Video was my background. That's what I was pioneering. I think it was the combination because I'm a motion graphic designer and I'm a video producer. And at least in the music scene, what they noticed was I would always implement all these, intricate motion graphics into my productions, right? Like I would literally like cut out the audience into like 4 different layers and then put an animated camera through the audience. And so it was wild stuff. It almost looked like AI back in like, 2013, 2014. People had never seen this kind of stuff. And so it was very visually captivating. And I just did it not even to do it for any kind of marketing material. I just thought it was cool. And I thought it was like grabbing attention. And so the more I grabbed attention with these kind of styles and these unique approaches to filming and editing that I would do, I would just become more and more popular. And so I think that the technology scene saw that, and it was a completely outside the box approach to creating content. And that's really why I shined when I got to Facebook, because at the time, I didn't consider myself a digital marketer at all. I just considered myself an artist. And so I brought in my artistic talent to companies that they were plugging me into. So I was on the creative workshop team when I went into Facebook. And what I was doing was I was creating ads for their partnership brands. So I would create ads for, Cheetos or Pottery Barn.
So more corporate brands.
More corporate brands. They started me off with like no-name companies. I was doing like a paper towel company, and
and how does that work? So basically, this is interesting because back before the internet, right? If you were Frito-Lay and you wanted to get on the news, right? You wanted your commercials to run during Dallas or something like that. You were responsible for your own production, and then you created your own commercials. If you were Coca-Cola or McDonald's, and then you ran your own commercials. And so what I'm gathering is, in the early days of video advertising, these companies like Frito-Lay, they knew how to make a 30-minute commercial for a Super Bowl. They didn't quite understand. Facebook wanted them to advertise with them. And so Facebook was offering resources to actually help brands create commercial ads, which was something that didn't happen, when you, like the Super Bowl didn't help you create your commercial ad. So this was something new. So Facebook was actually putting their own resources into.
Yeah, just like you said, like NBC is not going to help you create the ads. They figure that's all on the production company and you know what you're doing. But the thing is, with social media, those kind of advertisement, TV ads don't work on social, right? Just think of like the story arc in general. It's like it has a slow burn. It introduces the climax. It has a resolution and it goes down, right? So in 2015, when I got brought in, the whole game had changed and people were still advertising with the same strategies. Instead of just being like, boom, right up front, here's the hook. Here's the climax of it. And then the resolution happens after that. And then it kind of levels out. And then there's a call to action. Completely different form of advertising when it comes to video. So we had to come in there and rework all of these companies' ads and then kick them back out in a way that would perform better on the social media platform. And so that was what I was brought in to do.
Yeah, it was new. It had to work in the feed. And the same thing that works on Facebook is not necessarily going to work on TikTok because that's a vertical format. It's quick.
Exactly.
So yeah, you guys were cracking the code on this stuff. So what type of results was Facebook and you and your team starting to see for clients? Give me an example of what would happen, how you might blow them up, and how that started to look over at Facebook.
So great question. So at Facebook, basically the reason that I started rising through the ranks is because I was just putting my own creative touch on these advertisements. Like I knew what I was good at and I knew what would stand out on the platform. But just like you said, you're using the ad creatives for the specific platform they're advertising on, right? YouTube is going to act different than TikTok, which is going to act different than Meta. But when I was at Facebook, even the placement of where you're putting these ads matter. So what that means is a stories ad is going to act different than a Reels ad, which is going to act different than a newsfeed ad, right? And so I was really good at understanding the platform that we're advertising on, the UI and the UX, and then building out ad creatives specifically for that platform and that placement. So I'll give you an example. I had one of the clients that I was working with was United Airlines. And they brought me in and they said, hey, this is when I kind of became well known at Facebook. And they said, hey, you're the top, creative designer and producer here at Facebook. So we have these discount tickets to Maui that we got to sell out, right? And so how do we use your creative skills and sell these tickets to Maui on this platform? We want to advertise on the Stories platform because that was the big rage back in 2015. They were pushing stories. I knew that with the ad algorithm.
That was because of Snapchat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Snapchat, and they took it over. And that's with Facebook. Anytime they introduce something real, pro tip, always do what Meta says when they introduce something real, because they put millions and millions of dev into that.
Feed you into the algorithm
That's
quick
what
because they want success from it.
Yep. And those engineers and their whole marketing budget, everything went to that. So do what they say. So I knew to do what they say. And 2015, actually it was 2016, all the rage was stories. So I said to United Airlines, they brought me in as a strategist and a creative at this time. And so I said, what we need to do is we need to produce ads that get people to engage and take action in a gamified way. And so they're like, well, what does that look like? So I told them, hey, you know that game where you spin the globe and you tap your finger on the globe and that's where you're going to go vacation next. And they're like, yeah. I was like, well, what if we made them play that game, but it was rigged to land on Maui every single time they tapped. They're like, how can you possibly do that with an ad? And I said, I'll show you. So here's what we're going to do.
Really, though? Yeah. I'm asking myself the same thing.
And I had my secret was I had done this about a month before for a company called OpenTable, which was an online like a food reservation platform. Exact same concept.
So they would spin and find the best local restaurant in their area happened to be the one that you're pushing.
It happened to be the one we were pushing. And it was also a retargeting ad. So we knew who was going to tap on this. We knew that we were rigging this game. And it was only meant for those people because we were retargeting them. So it was like a genius play. And so I took this play from OpenTable.
That's why I'm smiling. I love evil genius.
It was totally evil. I mean, it's a rigged game is what we were building. And so I came up with this, like they thought it was on the fly. I was like, well, what if we did this? And they're like, well, this guy's a genius. How did he think of this in 30 seconds? I had already done this before. But it's rinse and repeatable. That's what I love about these strategies. You can rinse and repeat them. So I come into United Airlines and I say, okay, we're going to spin the globe and tap and rig it to land on Maui. So they said, how do you do that? I said, well, okay, think about it. The Stories platform, it actually has interactivity if you think about it and if you build it in the right way, because the UX of it is that when you tap on the story, it flips to the next story in the scene, right? And then when you tap again, it flicks to the next one. And the way that Meta works is that you get 3 stories per ad, right? So you get 3 videos that you can run. So I said, if we build these ads, so we say, hey, where are you going to go vacation to next? Tap the button to find out. Right? I said, what happens when they tap? And they're like, it'll flip to the next one. I'm like, exactly. So what happens when they go to the next one? It says, tap the button to say where you're vacationing next. And we've got all these rotating, scenes, all these beautiful destinations, and they're popping up in like super rapid fire, right? And it's saying like, tap to find out where you're going to be vacationing next, right? And so you're playing this game. You got 15 seconds to tap. No matter when you tap, it's going to flip to that third screen. And that third UI is built out to look just like the second UI, but it lands on Maui for, half a second. And then it acts like it flips. It's a rigged game, right?
It's Inception. The spouse is going to their spouse and saying, hey, I was doing some research and I found out that Maui's the best place to vacation, as if it was their idea.
And then they play the game and then they get they get confirmed what they already wanted, because we're only targeting these ads to people who already are looking at Maui on Expedia, on, whatever other airlines, right? So United comes up with their own version of advertising, and boom, no matter when they play the game and what they do, they are always rigged to land on Maui, which they were already looking at every single time. And then after it flips to that third screen, it shows Maui, and then it says, congrats, you landed on Maui. Swipe up to get your discounted tickets to Maui right now, right? So then the wife is there saying, honey, I played the game. It's confirmed. I landed on Maui. It's fate. It wasn't fate at all. We rigged the game, and they have no idea. I mean, even if they did know, it's still a really cool ad. And
it's interactive, and it works with the platform. It works with the way stories work. You tap to move through to the next tile.
Yeah, exactly. So we're using the UI and the UX and really understanding how to advertise on the platform for maximum effectiveness. And that campaign made them $500,000 in like 2 months that we ran it for them. So those are the kind of things that just took me to the next level working at Facebook. And I quickly that's why they basically let me build out my entire team under their umbrella.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because you're not with Facebook anymore. You have your own agency. Feel free to plug it and let everybody know what it is. And you also took your team with you from Facebook, and you all created your own advertising agency, media buying company. Tell me a little bit about that and the transition from Facebook. Like, what was going through your mind? Because going off on your own when you have a good job in Silicon Valley is tough. So talk about that brave step you took.
Yeah, and that's a great question, because that's exactly what it was. It took that the courage to do what I know I wanted to do. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always worked for myself. I had this spirit to be, I want skin in the game, right? I didn't want to work just for Salesforce. I didn't want to just work for Facebook. I loved the benefits of it. But basically, I was brought in as a contractor with them. And for 3 years, they had me on. I knew they were they wanted me as an employee. They kept trying to hire me. I kept kind of being like, yeah, we'll have that conversation later, right? And so eventually at 2018, it came time for them to be like, hey, you can't be a contractor forever. Like, at this point, they had already let me build out my team. I brought in about 10 to 12 of my own creators. So prior to that, they had said, hey, we want more of you in here. How do we get your friends in here with you? And so instead of me just giving,
they realized the important thing was to lock you up. That's what they wanted.
100%. And they wanted to scale what I was doing, right? Because I would go to these workshops, I would meet at Facebook in the morning, and then they would send me off with their, biggest partner. I would go to Frito-Lay, I would go to PepsiCo, I would go to Uber or whatever it was, right? There's only one of me. So they said, how do we get more of you? We know you're connected in the industry. You worked at Salesforce, you worked at Eventbrite, you've done all these big things. And I had the connections. And so instead of just giving my friends over to Facebook, I worked out a deal and said, look, I want to have kind of autonomy over the team that I run. So they said, what does that look like? I said, I want to build my own agency, and we will be represented by Facebook, and we will basically have a whole team of me that I will train on my knowledge and my systems, and we will rinse and repeat my formula for all of the big Fortune 500 companies. So there's a little bit of back and forth on this. Finally, we got it locked down. They said, okay, that's when I formed my agency called Concept. It was born under the Facebook umbrella. And then I brought in a lot of my basically creatives in the Silicon Valley. And that's how we were able to go from, me working with like 1 to 2 to 3 Fortune 500s to quickly working with 20. Our Rolodex is stacked because my team did all of the biggest, we were in charge of the biggest brands under there.
Wow. And how many people on your team now?
Right now we got about, I would say, between 12 and 15.
Wow. So you had to go from all of the working with a client stuff to also learning, wow, I got to run a business, right? And people got to get paid, and and who didn't show up on time or quit or came in sick, and workloads and deadlines and milestones. But that's part of being an entrepreneur. That's the exciting part of it.
And the stressful part, because when I was approached to work at Facebook, like they call it the golden handcuffs, right? They're like, you're not going anywhere. You work for Facebook, you're set. And so I knew that I wanted to start my own digital marketing agency. I had my secret formula that I learned. It was repeatable. I could teach my entire team how to do this. And I knew that I had something bigger than just, not just, but me being a Facebook employee. And so when I left, like half my team stayed with Facebook, which I don't blame them. I took about half my team with me. And then we started offering out these same strategies directly to clients. And the reason I was able to do this, and people would be like, well, if you're working for Uber, how are you going to work with me, a small tech startup? And I said, well, I don't have Facebook taking 80% right off the top, right? They would take, the lion's share of the profit. Right. So I basically from a car, maybe a used car standpoint, I'd say, I'm passing those savings on to you. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I could move the needle so much more. That was the most exciting part, was that, I could have, a multi-million-dollar campaign for Frito-Lay. That's going to move the needle about this much. I could do these exact same strategies for a tech startup out of the Silicon Valley, and we take them from 3 billion to 15 billion, which we have the case study on. Yeah. So the amount that we can move the needle with these strategies that we put in place was just ridiculous. And it was so exciting to be able to do that for companies.
And for digital marketers, they know Uber, they know Frito-Lay. Have you worked with anyone that we would consider, a guru in this space? Have you worked with any digital marketing software companies or legends?
Yeah. So on the software side, lots of big companies. QuickBooks is one of our clients. Udemy, the online learning platform, is one of our biggest clients. I've produced all of their ad creative, all of their marketing material. But then I actually got introduced to Jesse Dobeck, and he is a super connector. He has got the charisma, and he's got the background to pull anybody into his world. And that's what I love about working with him. When he vouches for somebody, they know it's true. And he vouched for me, basically. He met me, he heard my story, and he said, I got to see, basically at the time, he's like, I got to see what this kid can do, right? And so he started introducing me into this world of digital marketing gurus.
The digital marketing world, my world totally that I'm familiar with,
Yeah, totally different.
Direct response marketing.
Yep, I've been brand awareness, Fortune 500, big tech companies, right? Silicon Valley, like that was my whole world. Jesse comes along and he introduces me and says, "Hey, if you can do this for, all these big brands, can you execute these same strategies and do it in the digital marketing world?" And so we had a conversation about that. And I said, yeah, it's all the same stuff. I mean, I did it for my own agency, right? At first, when I left Facebook, I fell flat on my face, because I didn't have Facebook spoon feeding me the biggest clients in the world. So I had to quickly learn, okay, I got to put this into place for my own agency. And once I learned how to do
client acquisition. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Lead generation, sales funnels, client acquisition, all of that stuff. I had to learn at rapid pace because I was on easy street at Facebook for real.
Yeah. Now you're into funnels, VSLs, back-end call centers, all the whole direct response
whole
funnel.
thing. And it was a learning curve that it was like a crash course in it. And that's why I love working with Jesse, because, he would kind of like help me along in this world. And he would say, I think one of the biggest things he told me, like, hey, read all of Russell Brunson's books and start learning this language. Right. And so I'm like mainlining all this stuff. I now can learn very quick. And I started talking the talk, and he started introducing me to some digital marketing people like Ted McGrath. And then he had the connection with Grant Cardone, some other big names in like the real estate industry, Jess Lenuvo. And so he starts bringing me in. And I basically showed them what I learned at Facebook, which was the behind the scenes formulas to how the ad algorithm works and how the ad auction actually works. And so my strategy was, and it wasn't even a strategy, this is just how I actually am, is I just start giving away value, and I just start giving away my knowledge on these sales calls. So I would meet somebody like Ted McGrath, and I would look at his ad account, and I would see all this stuff going on. And I would say, hey, that the way that this is structured, because you have all these audiences and all these things running in test mode, you are bidding against yourself 100 times over. And you're spending $40,000, a month on this platform, and you're probably wasting 30,000 of it with how you have this structured. So I get his attention, right? And I said, just do this for me. Just simplify all this, change this stuff up, and then relaunch, and then come back to me next week. And basically on the call right there, he was like, just sign this guy. I don't like, let's just bring him in. Right. Same thing with Grant Cardone. I jumped in to the meeting with his CEO, Jared Glant, and basically, and his entire team. And I told them, hey, we could simplify this stuff. Before you even bring me in to create ads for you, let's get the basics down first. Right. And so they actually hired my agency on to do a full ad account audit, because they're spending so much on the platform. Like, we needed more time to dive in with them. And so we basically, our claim to fame that, and Jesse introduced me to this whole thing, so he can vouch for me on this whole thing. Our claim to fame with Grant Cardone was that in 7 days, we cut their customer acquisition cost by 75%. Just by going in and seeing how much ad auction overlap he had, what his like first time impression ratios are, how he was burning out his audience just by hammering the same message over and over, and how he was bidding against himself in the ad auction. And so we kind of taught them a little bit about how the ad auction works and how the total value formula works behind the algorithm. They put these into place and cut their 10x live event from about 750 on average down to about 200, 197 within 7 days.
The cost to acquire that customer went from 750 to 200.
Yep. Wow. So they got a 75% cut in acquisition costs. And now we have these great testimonials from their team. And actually, that's how I met the Grant Cardone team.
And now at this point, you start blowing up through the digital marketing spaces. Anybody else after Grant Cardone, some of the big names?
Well, I got connected with you. So let's see. We're working with I don't know how big TR Garland is. We're going to be working with him. A gal named Lynn Rose, who's connected with Annick Singal. We're going to be working with her.
Of course.
So these are Jesse's connections, and basically we're taking the same formula that we did, with these digital marketers, and saying, hey, these are the results that we're able to get. Let's rinse and repeat these same strategies that Jacob and his team has. And now we've got the testimonials from Grant Cardone's team. We've got the testimonials from Ted McGrath. And so it's really easy to showcase what we're able to do and bring clients into our world.
Yeah. And it's not going to stop there. I'm already saying, hey, I have a job to do right here. And that's focused on this interview, right? Without seeming like you and I are talking in a green room somewhere at a live event. But we're definitely going to connect some more. And I'm definitely going to get you in some really, really good circles with people that do a ton of media buying. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And
Same.
I know you wanted to peel apart your screen and share your screen a little bit and go over some things. Did you have a couple of things you wanted to dig behind the scenes for some people?
Yeah, I would love to just kind of, this is where Traffic Syndicate comes into play, because what I was telling Jesse when I first met him was, I want to show people how they can do this for themselves. Because these secrets, they're locked up behind Facebook. And I don't know if they don't want these things to get out. What I tell people is, people are going to realize that I'm revealing the inside secrets behind Facebook. And a lot of people say, are you allowed to do that? I don't know. But here's the thing. I know that Facebook wants you to spend money on their platform.
If you spend $1,000 and never come back, what good is that? If you spend $1,000 and make $1,500, they want you there all day. So if there's an educator showing them how the platform actually works, rather than somebody failing, I think they're going to be okay with it. So I'm on your side. That's
what I always say. It's like I'm helping people spend more money on the platform, get more success on the platform, because that's what I love about Facebook just meta advertising in general, is that Tom's shoes can take out Nike, right? They're not, at the time, they weren't as big, and I ran their campaigns. They weren't as big as Nike, obviously, but with the right strategies, they can beat the big guys. The whole idea of meta advertising is kind of a David and Goliath story. All the Casper mattresses can come in and absolutely wipe out the biggest names in the world just by understanding Facebook advertising. And that's what I want to do with any students that come through, is show you, hey, you don't need to be Coca-Cola or PepsiCo and have the multi-million-dollar budgets. Right?
It was
you don't
a razor.
Need to be Grant Cardone. You could be a small digital marketer and absolutely crush it over everybody else if you understand the formula.
Wasn't there a razor that did that? Something like Dave's or something like that. They were just like, all of a sudden, this razor just explodes all over social media about 7 or 8 years ago. And the next thing you know, they're in Walmart because they built a brand.
That might have been Dollar Shave Club.
Dollar Shave? Yeah.
I love Dollar Shave Club because not only did they crush it with digital marketing strategies that they implemented, but they also set the tone for that video walk and talk,
quirky video walking through, throwing things around.
They were total they're a trendsetter. So I always love using them as an example.
Cool. So let's jump on in and check out your screen.
Okay. So this is what some of the stuff that I like to teach, because I want to show people that you don't have to work at Facebook and you don't have to be, Uber or United Airlines to make this platform work for you. What you really need to know is that when you go and advertise on Meta, you're entering an ad auction. And some people know this a little bit more. Back in 2015, 2018, people didn't understand this stuff at all. I think there's been documentaries that came out, but it's important to know that when you go and advertise on the platform, you are bidding for the right to show your ad to this guy. Okay. And so what is like a traditional auction? How do you win the right to show your ad? Right? An auction, the highest bid amount is who wins the right. But with Facebook Meta, with Meta, it's completely different. There is an actual formula that comes into play that allows you to win the right to show your ad. And so when I worked at Facebook, I met with the engineers who built the ad auction, who built the algorithm, and I would write this stuff down on napkins to figure out what are the formulas. And my whole thing was like, I wasn't even considering myself a digital marketer. I just wanted to make better ads to do better at my job. And so by doing that, I was learning the inside details of how this actually works. And so once I learned this stuff, I realized I can just teach my team this. And once I taught my team it and we repeated it and got success, I can teach everybody this stuff and everybody can win. And so one of the things that I learned, I actually had this written down on a napkin forever. I finally turned it into a slide. But this is what the engineers call the total value formula. And so what a lot of people get wrong is that in a traditional auction, right, they're focusing on this, right? Our clients come through, they're focusing on this, their advertiser bid, they're going to spend more money on the platform, and that's how they're going to win, right? And then they might focus on some user value because you want to make sure your targeting is on point, right? But what a lot of people don't realize that it's advertiser bid times right here, which is estimated action rates. And so what this is Facebook looks at how well you performed in the past, and then they make off that history, they make a prediction on how well you are going to perform in the future. And so what I like to teach, my students or anybody coming through, with Traffic Syndicate, what I would be focusing on is teaching people, how do you focus on these things right here? estimated action rates and user value. Because if you can get these things mastered, then guess what? Your advertiser bid goes way down. And this is what we did for Grant Cardone. We focused on these values over here. And guess what? He went from $700 a sale down to $200 a sale because we're focusing on the right things in the total value formula. And now he's winning the ad auction every single time at the cheapest price point possible. So these are the kind of strategies that I love to use. Yeah, it's totally an algorithm hack. And I am all about, hacking the algorithm with... There's some really ninja strategies that you could do that most people would never even think of. If you wanted to focus on estimated action rates, what I always teach people is a conversion in Meta is a conversion. It doesn't matter if you're asking for a $1,000 sale or you're asking for somebody to like your page. If you can train Meta that you get conversions, a lot of them at a cheap price point, and everybody takes the bait that you're offering, then Meta is going to raise your estimated action rates through the roof. And when you do that, then your advertiser bid goes down. So what are the strategies of doing that? Well, one thing you could do is before you ever launch a more expensive conversion-based campaign. So if I were to go into here, I teach people there are, it's more money to advertise for a higher conversion level, right? Conversions are different than consideration, which is different than awareness. So I teach people to go back to the awareness stage and let's get these conversions at the cheapest price point possible because people will like your page faster than they will buy your $1,000 thing. And so I've got a hack that I love doing. It's a like campaign that tells people to like the ad, and you run those ads at a very cheap price point. But when they go to like the ad, the way that the awareness campaign works for a like campaign, it puts this big fat thumbs up on the ad. So instead of them liking the ad, they go and actually like your page. That's a conversion. And you're going to get so many conversions at the cheapest price point possible. Now your estimated action rates are absolutely through the roof. And now
this is so out of the box thinking. I don't know many people doing anything like this. They're just doing typical, hey, I'm here. Here's my ad. Click here and get over to my funnel.
And I love that most people are doing that because anybody who works with our agency or works, with the coaching program, they've got the edge. And so when people say, if Meta ads don't work, I tell them that's a good thing that Meta ads don't work for everybody else. Because you need the edge. So when you learn how Meta ads work for you, let everybody else think Meta ads don't work because you're going to be the one who takes it to the top because you've got the secret formulas that nobody else has. So I love when people say that, that kind of stuff. And that's what I love to show people is that if you focus on the right things and then you focus on making creative ads that are going to be next level, right? Like this is the open table ad, right? If you can focus on these kind of things, this is an ad that I built out for an MLM company that I was doing back in like 2015 before people actually figured out that you could do this. But these kind of things, when you combine them with the right strategies, you're going to crush it on the platform. And that's we're in a competitive market, right? And when you can win at this, it's exciting. And I think that's why, honestly, a side note, I think that's why I love being an entrepreneur is because you can help people take it to the next level with your strategies. And it's a game, and we're all just trying to win at this game, and that's kind of what motivates me.
What you're saying right there is, the 3 feet from gold. You're seeing all of these people that are like, I don't understand. I go to these events, I go to the Marketers Cruise, I go to Funnel Hacking Live. I'm seeing success all around me. I have a good product. I'm doing everything everybody's telling me, and then you can come in, Jacob, and you could be like, yeah, it's just this one little tweak. You're 3 feet from gold. We're going to fix this one thing in your advertising. And then that's the eureka moment for these people where all of a sudden everything just changes.
And you said it perfectly. It can be just one thing. When we worked with Grant Cardone, it was looking at his ad auction overlap and his first time impression ratios and his saturation. And we looked at that and said, these are through the roof. Why are these through the roof? Oh, it's because it's not even the creative. It's because of how you have your ad account structured. And you're just burning through money, and Facebook is not letting you win the ad auction. So let's change this one thing. In 7 days, you're saving millions. One thing. And that's what's so exciting about this is that it can be taught, and everybody can put this into practice for themselves.
This is absolutely amazing. Is there a couple of more things you wanted to share?
Yeah, it's a strategy that we built out. And this is what's important, is that we built out something called Social Flex. And this is what I taught to my team at Facebook when we were all working there. And so I came up with a strategy called Social Flex, where the most important thing that we could do is have variation in how we advertise on Meta. Now, Meta loves variation because we have a sweet spot that we are the creators and we are the digital marketers. So this gives us a superpower where I say it's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 5. Because when you put these two things together, what you can do is build out ad creative with enough variation and these other options to run the ads on the platform. And then you look at the data and then you make data-informed decisions to go back to the creative process, make those changes according to what the data told you, and then you kick those ads back out in 15 minutes and you 2x, 3x, 4x this thing, right? And so I teach people, and this is what works so well in the digital marketer community, is most of these digital marketers, they're not huge companies with these walled off silos between their creative team and their marketing team, right? They are the creator and they're the digital marketer in one. So I tell them that's your superpower. Because if you can build out ads in a way that gives you all the buttons and the levers to push and pull, and then you run those ads and you can understand what the data is telling you, well, guess what? Then you can go back and optimize those ads for success. And so that's what we're doing with what we call Social Flex, is that we will build out maybe like a VSL or a hero video, and that will live on their landing page. And that'll be a longer video that you have to watch. People aren't going to give you 3 minutes of their time on a social media platform. They will give you 15 seconds to 30 seconds, right? So you build out a longer hero video that lives on the landing page. And then out of that hero video, you build out what we call hook point ads, right? So we take the hook points out of that hero video. So now we have a good, consistent message. And with that hook point, every one of these ads gets its own front end and back end. And this is where, let's say the hook point is travel, right? For an outdoor lifestyle brand, or the hook point is nature, or the hook point is adventure. Right? Well, adventure gets its own series of intros and its own call to actions. Nature gets its own series of intros and its own call to actions. Same with travels, right? So now you have multiple ad angles that you could run with multiple hooks on every single ad angle. So when we work with a client, we say, you're not building out ads. You're building out a digital asset library that you can use to win at the ad algorithm. And I know that this kind of sounds complex, but I break all of this stuff down.
No, well, that's the beautiful thing, right, Jacob, is that this is a preview series. And, we're telling everybody, hey, at someday you got to put your big boy pants on or big girl pants on, right? But this all gets broken down at a much slower pace, module by module inside of the Traffic Syndicate, especially when you're offering your education for it. It's and thank you for that. Yeah, here you're just kind of just running through just a big 30,000 square foot view, and people are going to hear some words they're not used to, like optimization and cost per acquisition and things like that. The last thing you want to do is get intimidated, but understand that this stuff is not complicated at all. It's just different ways about talking about conversion and what works. It's just big words on simple processes.
Exactly. Well said. And when you get in, with Traffic Syndicate, when you get in and you start diving into how this works, we break it down in a way that you can have this aha moment for yourself. And that's what's so powerful, is once you get it, at its core, then you start locking in and you start coming up with your own creative ideas, how you could implement it into your own business. So we're not just teaching you like an overall, like an overview of this. We're dialing into the nitty gritty of all this stuff. And we're showing you why this actually works. Because we want people to understand it at its core level. We get into like things like, what are the hook point, how do you do the copy for this? What are your audience, what is their buying habits? What are the psychographics that we want to target? And so we teach all of this stuff so that you can have your own aha moment and you can understand it at its fundamental level. And that's what I love about training on this stuff, is because once you see it click in people's minds, they can then take their business just 10x moves. And that's why I love showing people how this stuff actually works.
Thank you, Jacob. So I've got two more questions for you. One, I can see you're very passionate. I just love entrepreneurs like you, and I know that once we start talking about improvements and AI and what's working with ChatGPT and all these different things, I see smiles on people's faces because you love to share. It's obvious you love to share your knowledge rather than just keep all of your secrets tied up. What has this type of success meant for you and your family? And because you talked about when you first started, like you were just grinding, like trying to get a job at any rate, and you put the effort in, you figured out all this stuff. How is that translated into financial freedom?
Oh yeah, the financial freedom from where I was as a starving musician into owning my own digital marketing agency, and we've consistently hit 7 figures for 4 years in a row now. It's really been life changing for me. I live in the Silicon Valley. I bought a house about a block from the ocean, so I can provide for my family. I have a wife and 2 beautiful children. We've got them in our private school with this great community. So and it's not just about like the finances of it. It's really the freedom that allows me to have in my life. Right. That's been like one of the best things, because I've learned how to build up my agency to, remove myself from it, let the team, function without me having to do everything with it. So I can focus on scaling the agency, and I can also focus on my family and, having the life that I want to have. So it's just been the success that this brought me has it just changed my entire life, and I want to help people get themselves to that same place that I've got to. I want people. I live in San Francisco. It's very expensive here, but it doesn't mean that you can't take your business and your life to the next level. A lot of people would complain, "Hey, I can't buy a house in the Bay Area." You can. You've got to understand how digital marketing works. You've got to have a good offer, and then you have to get traffic in, and then you have to convert that traffic into sales. And if you can do that, you can have life-changing aha moments. I did it for and trust me, when I left Facebook, I fell flat on my face. It was not easy for me at the time to transition from working at a big corporate giant into doing this for myself. But I knew that I was taught how to fish, right? I wasn't given a fish. I was taught how to fish. And so once I knew how to do that, I could absolutely do this for myself. And that's really what I want to teach people how to do for themselves and take their business to the next level.
And so what would you tell somebody that's watching this video right now in this interview series? There's a button below where they can join a web class where they're going to learn where, the part of this interview series is to get them to understand that there's entrepreneurs that have had success. The real training is going to be on more deep diving into the stuff that you're talking about. Is going to be on this webinar. If this webinar was the game changer for folks and they had the opportunity to take it or leave it, what would you tell them?
If I had to say, if you're seeing this webinar right now, take action right now. Because as soon as you take action and you guys click that link below, you can have that life-changing moment. Join Traffic Syndicate, because you're going to be learning how to bring in traffic and how to convert that traffic into sales. And that's going to be the life-changing moment. That's going to change your business from struggling to success. So I would highly encourage you, click that link below, join up on the program. I will be teaching in it. I'll be training you. I will be helping you every step of the way. And so will the rest of the team. I mean, the team that's been established in this is absolutely next level. So don't sleep on the offer. Definitely join up.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, folks, you'll just register below. The beautiful thing is it's a free event with free training, and we'll tell you all about it and how it works and the pricing and everything there. Jacob, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out, a nice about hour here to get everybody, let everybody get to know you and share some of your story and your insider secrets. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, I appreciate you having me on, Mike. This has been really great connecting. And yeah, I'm excited to join the platform and just start helping people scale up their businesses too.
Great. Thank you. Wow. Wasn't that amazing? I hope you enjoyed that interview with Jacob Moore. Please make sure to register below, and that will allow you to get information on more of these interviews in this series. And you'll notice dates and times for a special web class training that we're going to be doing very, very soon, where we're going to be doing deep dive so you can learn more about traffic, everything traffic, in this Traffic Syndicate interview series. Thank you very much. Make sure to register below.